God removed the relationship. But I wanted to go ahead and first share a story. I'm just going to be transparent, y'all. It's going to be honest here. I'm going to be honest here. So, I was in a relationship, and it was like weeks before, the actual ending of the relationship, where I started feeling like something wasn't right. Like and y'all, the whole time, if we're being honest, I kind of didn't feel easy about it at all. I was trying to make it happen and make it work and do these things, but I felt like throughout the entire situation, there were very clear moments that this was not the situation I was supposed to be in. Well, towards the end, there were just things I was finding out, things that were happening. And my heart started to change, right? My heart started to change. I can't tell you, but my heart started to change. And so as I'm like processing some of the things that are happening, I have been praying the dangerous prayer. We always talk about the dangerous prayer, which is, God, remove anything from my life that does not belong. I want what you want for me. Remove anything that isn't. Remove anything that isn't from you. When you pray that dangerous prayer, family, you have to be prepared, because God is going to start removing whether you're ready or not. Okay? And so in the situation, God starts showing me stuff. I'm starting to realize that I'm being bamboozled, y'all. I am being bamboozled. Okay? I'm starting to find out things. I'm like, wait, what? And y'all, that's one thing for me. One thing for me is when I'm being manipulated, or I feel like somebody is doing some stuff behind my back. Oh no, I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't. I'm one of those people. As soon as I find out, your girl loves hard now. But when I start feeling like I'm being betrayed, when I start feeling like you playing me, yeah, no. Sam does not handle that very well, right? So anyway, I started finding things out. As soon as I was really serious, and I felt like God knew at that moment I was ready to hear the response. Like, God knows that sometimes it's almost like your friend, right? Your friend tell you about what's going on in her relationship with her man, or your boy tell you about his relationship with his girl. You know they ain't leaving. So you know at this moment they're not ready to receive whatever information you give it, right? So you just like, I'm just gonna stay silent. I'm just gonna keep it to myself, because ultimately I know they're trying to stay. So whatever, I'm just gonna leave it alone. But then you also know that there's a time where they're receptive to whatever information you're giving. Well, I was at a point. At this point where I was receptive to what God was saying. Okay, so I was receptive. And so I started talking, I started hearing I just felt like, okay, I started feeling the prompting. Started feeling the prompting. I just couldn't ignore it. I mean, then we were getting into arguments, it just wasn't, productive. They were just getting worse. And so it just started becoming like this. Now, you're having that irritation, you have that feeling, whatever. And guys, again, I'm not talking, and let's be very clear, I'm not talking about marriage. I am talking about a relationship where you're breaking up. I am not talking about marriage. So do not come on here and talk to me about your marriage. Like, that's not what this is. I'm not, no. Okay. I'm here talking about relationships. Okay. When I was being called out of a relationship. All right. So let's be clear. Now, God could be calling you out of a marriage, but that is something that you absolutely have to seek the Lord on. You have to, really do your due diligence in that area. I am not going to tell nobody to leave their marriage. That's just not that's not what I'm going to do. Okay. This is a relationship. All right. This is a relationship. And some of y'all might have been called out of a marriage, or a marriage ended and you wanted it to work. Now, this does apply to you in that instance, but if you're making a decision about a marriage, you need to take those things to the Lord and let God lead you in that. Okay. That's just what I'm saying. So Of course, some of you guys might be, like I said, maybe on here and a marriage ended and you're trying to figure out what happened. Why did it happen? And we can talk about that here. I'm going to give you those signs. So anyway, back to my point. So in the relationship, it just started getting progressively worse. And over time, y'all, God was so on me. Like, it was so, I literally couldn't think of anything else. And it wasn't like a pressing, but it was a pressing. It was like, I remember driving my daughter to gymnastics and I just could not stop thinking about it. I just could not stop thinking about it. And so what ended up happening was, I finally did what God called me to do. I knew it was God because he was just consistent. He would not let me get away from it. Would not let me get away from it. As soon as I ended the relationship, y'all, I ended up ending the relationship. I ended up breaking the relationship, breaking up. And I immediately had peace. Now, that doesn't mean that the relationship was, it wasn't hard or wasn't heartbreaking or any of those things. But I knew that God was telling me to get up out of there. And the reality was, I'm glad he did, because there was things that I found out later that I didn't know at the time. Right. But I'm very grateful that he removed me from something in his goodness and his kindness that was not going to end well anyway. Right. So that's just one of those things. So again, it was like a pressing. I couldn't run away from the thought. It became an uneasiness. It was very, very clear that I was trying to convince myself to stay in this, and God wanted me out of this. Right. So I was in that place. Okay. So, okay. So with that being said, a lot of times those promptings, when you're praying and those promptings are coming, you got to pay attention to that, because sometimes God is trying to tell you something. And we want so badly for the relationship to work, and we want so badly for things to be whatever they are, especially as women. We try so hard to hold on to relationships, and sometimes they're not meant to be held on to. Right? So anyway, let's go into our conversation for tonight. All right. So y'all, here are 6 signs. I might give you guys some more. 6 signs that God removed that relationship from you. Okay? 6 signs that God removed that relationship from you. All right? So let's get into it. The number one thing, I took some notes here, and I'll go into it. A persistent lack of peace. Now, guys, this is one of the biggest signs that I think people don't pay enough attention to. The enemy cannot give you peace. The enemy can't give you peace. There's nothing about the enemy. If the enemy is involved, it can make you happy, but it can't give you peace. There is a difference, right? You can go to the club and you can get happy, but it doesn't give you peace. Peace is like, I'm calm. I'm easy. There's nothing. I don't have to take a substance. I don't have to eat some food. I ain't got to drink some drink. I am I'm at peace. There is something different about your soul being at peace or you being happy. 2 completely different things. A persistent lack of peace, meaning no matter how far you guys might have good moments, but the relationship is rocky. The relationship lacks peace. That you cannot run away from this persistence of just disillusion, right? You can't get away from it. You try to make it work. It might be good for a couple days, but now we back at it and there's no peace. Or I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I can't have a conversation with you. I'm afraid I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, and you're going to snap off, or I'm going to snap off. We're just so volatile. This ain't healthy for neither one of us, right? And so somebody sitting here, that's all relationships. No, that's not all relationships. Not all relationships lack peace and you're arguing all the time. If those are the relationships that you're in, those are unhealthy relationships. If you're in relationships where you have no peace, you're choosing relationships that are beneath the standard that you should have. You're going to have, let's be clear, no relationship is perfect. No relationship is perfect. But if you're staying in relationships you have no peace in, that is not normal. That is not healthy. So don't come in here and say all relationships. No, all your relationships lack peace. There are going to be moments where there's no peace. Let's be clear. But if it's a persistent lack of peace, that is different. If there's more moments where you don't have peace versus having peace, that's a problem. Those are probably relationships you chose for yourself, not relationships that God chose for you. Because we also know that God is the author of peace. Wherever he is, there is peace. If your mind is stayed on him, there is peace. He's not the author of confusion. He's not the author of disillusion. He's not the author of disorder. Okay? So if there is a persistent lack of peace in a relationship, that is a sign that God is removing you from the relationship, or God removed that relationship. But a lot of times, a lot of us don't want to leave relationships. Why? Because a lot of us, our hearts don't want to leave people. We feel loyal, we feel tied to, we feel like this is the right thing. And so we stay in relationships, try to make it work, try to convince ourselves that this is the right place to be. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We're afraid of the unknown. We know this person, they know us, and we're afraid of letting that go and trying something else with God because we're comfortable here. We've been here. We understand this. They understand us. And maybe it's the devil I do know versus getting to know the devil I don't. So I stay. I try to make it work. I have no peace, but I'm still trying to make it work. And God says, listen, if you aren't going to leave him, I'm going to have to take him from you. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, y'all. Let's not just be every once in a while. Let's become family, okay? Friends that are family, okay? Join my family today.